The story begins inside a busy Walmart on a Friday afternoon. The store is buzzing with activity as customers weave through aisles and wait in line at the registers. One of the cashiers, none other than Snoop Dogg, is working behind the counter. Yes, the Snoop Dogg. But today, he isn't the global superstar that people know him as. Today, he's just an ordinary man in a Walmart uniform, doing his job with his usual cool, laid-back style. His sunglasses rest low on his nose, and his signature charm is on full display. Customers in his line are in good spirits because Snoop always knows how to make the experience enjoyable. He greets everyone with kindness and humor, sharing quick jokes and offering compliments on their purchases. He's loved by many of the regulars, including his supervisor, Brenda. Brenda is a sharp, middle-aged woman with a no-nonsense attitude, but she has a soft spot for Snoop. At first, she wasn't sure what to expect from him when he started working here, but he quickly earned her respect with his work ethic and positive attitude. As she approaches Snoop's register, clipboard in hand, she can't help but smile. She tells Snoop that customers have been raving about him, saying they'd rather check out at his line than anyone else's. Snoop chuckles and tells her it's all about spreading love and good vibes. Brenda nods approvingly and heads off, leaving Snoop to continue his work. The line moves forward, and that's when Margaret arrives. Margaret is a middle-aged white woman dressed in expensive designer clothes. Her face is pinched with irritation as she taps away on her phone, clearly annoyed by the wait time. She doesn't notice the atmosphere around her, she's too focused on her own impatience. As Snoop greets her with a warm, "Hope you're having a good day," she barely looks up. She curtly tells him to just ring up her items, making it clear she doesn't want to chat. Snoop, ever patient, smiles and starts scanning her groceries. He notices a box of organic tea and comments on how it's a good choice, saying it helps with stress. But Margaret isn't in the mood for pleasantries. With a cold glare, she snaps that she doesn't need his commentary. Snoop keeps his composure and simply nods, continuing to do his job. But as the moments pass, Margaret's frustration starts to bubble over. She mumbles under her breath, something about standards dropping and hiring just anybody these days. Snoop hears it but says nothing. However, others in the line hear it too. A young black woman named Tanya, standing a few spots behind Margaret, crosses her arms and raises an eyebrow. Tanya is bold and doesn't tolerate disrespect, especially when it's aimed at someone just trying to do their job. Margaret, still unaware of the attention she's drawing, starts to speak louder. She remarks that Snoop probably doesn't even understand half the things he's scanning and that Walmart should focus on hiring better people. At this, Tanya has had enough. Tanya steps forward and confronts Margaret, telling her to watch her mouth. Margaret turns to Tanya with a look of indignation, demanding to know why she's interfering. Tanya fires back, saying it's her business when someone is being blatantly disrespectful. Margaret tries to defend herself, saying she just wants her groceries rung up without all the chit-chat. Tanya shakes her head and tells her that the problem isn't the chit-chat, it's the prejudice. Margaret's face flushes with anger, but before she can respond, someone else steps into the fray. George, an elderly white man with kind eyes, walks up from the next aisle. George is a regular at the store and knows Snoop well. He greets Snoop warmly, asking how his favorite cashier is doing today. Snoop's face lights up as he welcomes George and asks about his family. George mentions that his granddaughter loved the book Snoop recommended and thanks him for always going the extra mile. George then turns to Margaret and notices the tension. He asks what's going on, and Margaret, still defensive, claims she was just expecting professionalism from the staff. George raises an eyebrow and chuckles dryly. He tells Margaret that Snoop is one of the most respected people in the community. Margaret looks confused, so George elaborates. He explains that Snoop volunteers at the local youth center, mentoring kids and helping them stay off the streets. He also organizes charity drives and food donations. George emphasizes that Snoop has made a real difference in people's lives. Margaret's expression shifts from confusion to shock. She stammers, saying she didn't know any of that. Tanya chimes in, pointing out that Margaret didn't bother to find out before making assumptions. Margaret looks down, clearly embarrassed. After a long pause, she quietly apologizes. Snoop, ever gracious, accepts her apology with a gentle nod. He tells her that everyone has room to grow and that it's important to spread kindness instead of hate. Margaret nods and thanks him before gathering her things and leaving the store. As she walks away, a few customers clap softly in support of Snoop. Tanya pats him on the shoulder and tells him he handled the situation like a champ. Snoop smiles and says it's all about keeping cool and spreading good vibes. George pats him on the back and tells him to keep being himself. With the tension finally broken, the store returns to its usual rhythm. Snoop continues ringing up customers, cracking jokes, and brightening people's day. The lesson hangs in the air: never judge someone by appearances alone. Everyone has a story, and sometimes, those stories can surprise you. The story ends with a voiceover, reminding the audience that kindness and understanding are powerful tools that can bridge divides. Everyone deserves respect, and sometimes, taking the time to listen can change everything.